Welcome to Ask Gwen, everyone. Today I have Miss Kim O'Neill with me, and we're just going to have a natural conversation. And so I'm going to let Kim take it away and explain a little bit more about what she does and, yeah, what she does and how we met.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me here, Win. I just find what you do so inspiring and I'm grateful to be a guest. So, a little bit about me. Yes, I'm a transformational confidence and interview coach, and I often work with two distinct types of clients. So, I help intelligent empaths feel more confident by releasing their self doubt and any disempowerment in their life so they can step into a more courageous confidence in both their personal and professional life. And then I also work with job seekers and podcast interviewees, helping them prepare for interviews so that they either get that job or have that outstanding podcast experience that they desire to have. And one of the things that I do, just like you, I host a podcast slash live show. It's called Every Day is a New Day, and we air first on Facebook, and then of course it gets uploaded to all the other platforms. But it's where I get to have those inspirational conversations with people about moving forward, taking on that positive outlook, choosing to be more of who they are in the world. And I'm really excited because this second half of 2020, I'm taking on something a little different. I'm calling it Rise and Shine Creating 2020 Vision. And so for the next 20 weeks from July 27th through December 10th, I'm going to be hosting this bi-weekly show where I bring on different guests and we have fun, interactive conversations with the audience, focusing on the power of our vision, our mindset, our emotions, and our actions, and really being able to create that new day experience we all desire to have. So that's a little bit about me and what I do, and I'm having fun with it.
Well, maybe we'll release this episode just a little bit early, you guys, so that you can catch Kim's um Rise show and also catch Kim's new day show on Facebook. I've caught a little bit of it. Trust me, I've been following Kim and nicely social stalking Kim. And then I finally got the Brave stick up, and I said, "Okay, come on, get the Brave stick up and ask her on the podcast." And I'm like, "But," she said, "Yes," and I'm like, "Okay, it's because of me, you guys. It's because that's why I have over 1,000 episodes. It's because it's me and you guys love me and you guys have loved me ever since 2010. So, and Kim is going to ask me a question later on in the podcast that you guys be shocked by my answer. You guys won't be shocked by one of my answers, but you guys will probably be shocked by the second answer that I'm going to give to Kim's question, but we'll wait for that one. So, Kim, could you explain your morning routine?
Yes. So, my morning routine, I start off with slow, deep breaths. It's something that before I decided to move into the entrepreneurial direction, and I was working a more typical 8 to 6 or actually 8 to 8 job. I worked long hours. I found that it was really helpful for me to just start my morning while I was still lying in bed, taking slow, deep breaths. It really helped to energize my body, but also just really help me feel more present and centered and calm, especially if I had any stress or concerns that started to roll over into the new day. And breathing, I mean, it sounds so simple and so basic, and it has just been such like a change for a day changer for my day, by taking time to deliberately take slow deep breaths in the morning. So that's one of the things I do. I visualize aligning my energy with my higher self. with what, the best version of me, and doing my best to bring that into the present moment. And then something that I've shifted, I've always been very, taking time for gratitude and being really mindful of everything that I have and what I'm grateful for. But I used to do that throughout my day. And I recently came upon someone else who was really advocating for being grateful first thing in the morning. And so that's something I now do first thing in the morning is I say, okay, what am I grateful for today? And it's really great because it allows you to just really step into that space of feeling fulfilled, feeling grateful for, my eyes opened up again today, or, I'm grateful because I have another chance to work on this or that and accomplish my goals, whatever it may be. So those are the three things that I do as my part of my morning routine.
Well, that's interesting that you say because um, during this coronavirus pandemic, and we're recording this on on June on July 23rd, 2020. And for those of you that don't know, Kim and I are still well, I've been in lockdown since March. Um, Kim is out in California, and of course, California is still in lockdown. But it's interesting you say that, Kim, to be grateful first thing when you wake up in the morning, because so many people are not being, I hate to say it, but they're not being grateful that they're putting 2 feet on the ground. They're worried about, okay, how am I going to send my kids back to school? Yes, I know, I know where you guys are at right now. I have seen it online. I have talked to people behind the scenes who are educators. I was an educator and I got out before actually the pandemic kicked me out of my day job, but that's another
Yeah.
whole story in itself. And so I think just being grateful when you first wake up in the morning before you turn on your phone and check social media and check your email, just say, I'm grateful to be awake, to be moving my body. I'm grateful not to be hooked up to a ventilator, not to not be able to see my family. I'm grateful to put a spoon of the breakfast into my mouth. So, Kim, I
Yeah.
agree with you on that. And a lot of people have been saying that lately. Look at what you have before
Yeah.
you get into the day.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And I I get it about maybe becoming overwhelmed or frustrated by the transitions that feel like they're out of our control. I totally get how it may seem like it's not so easy to feel gratitude in those moments because those are real life situations. I totally get that. And the beautiful thing about it is that it's also an opportunity to remember our individual power, to be mindful of how are we taking care of ourselves in the midst of what may seem chaotic, what may seem so confusing and overwhelming. Because the challenge can be to completely neglect ourselves, to completely neglect what's of utmost importance, which is the individual, which is who's doing all these things, who's responsible for taking care of all these things. And are you making sure that you are your best self so that you can find the solution for daycare or, a new job, whatever it may be? Because it makes a difference if you're seeking those resources or new solutions from a place of feeling disempowered, of feeling like you're weak and you're out of control and you don't have the answers, versus, okay, don't have the answer yet. Let me take care of myself first. What do I need to do to just kind of, feel present, to feel my best self first? And then now I can tackle that situation. And it may be a challenge making that transition and really understanding that it's so important to take care of your mindset, to take care of what are you envisioning first. Are you envisioning more of the problem, or are you envisioning, okay, there's a solution out there and I'm opening the doorway for me to see it? There's a difference in those two things. So I totally get it. And it's important to be taking time for that gratitude and those things that actually make us feel good, support us in feeling good. So so we can move forward and find those solutions and feel even more empowered when we find that solution. So yeah, it's a lot of change going on these days.
Oh, yes. Yes, a lot of change going on. And for those of you who are going to be listening to this in Florida, trust me, I'm with you. I just may be standing by you silently. I'm with all my educator friends all across the country. And it's like, okay, what are we doing now? So, yes, but we're going to get through this. We're going to be strong on the other side. Now, Kim, if
Yes.
you had to move and only take 5 things with you, what would they be?
Oh my goodness. So when I first think of a question like this, I think of all those practical things. So I'd have my laptop, my phone, my purse, my car, and I definitely want to make sure I have shoes. But if I go beyond that, like the fun, impractical things that fill me up, I really love my bed, although that's really huge. I don't know how I'd carry that. Um, I love my bed. I love my prescription sunglasses because I typically wear prescription glasses. I love stones. So like crystals and gemstones. I've kind of become a big fan of those. And then two more things. My goodness, I would probably definitely take a photo album, fill it with photos of people I love, and probably a painting that my niece painted for me or something along those lines. Something that was just sentimental.
And then if you had a favorite book, what is the title of it and why?
Oh, goodness. Okay, so I have a lot of favorite books, a lot of personal development, self-help books. I'm thinking of authors like Melody Beatty, Jack Canfield, um, Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks. I really love inspirational, uplifting things, but more so for me, my favorite thing to do with those books is I really love to go to my bookshelf and go, okay, which book is calling out to me today? And then I pulled that book off the bookshelf, and with it still closed, I asked, okay, what is the message that I am meant to hear in this moment? What is most going to help me? And then I just keep my eyes closed and I randomly open up to a page in the book and I put my finger wherever it lands and then I open my eyes. And so many times it's like the perfect message for me to receive in that moment. And it's just so fun and I love it. So I do that a lot.
Well, that's one way to do it. And if your best friend had to write a book about you, what would the title be?
Well, it could be called Your Personal Cheerleader, or it could be called She Does It Her Way. The Energizer Kimmy could be, any one of those.
Yes, yes.
That's it.
So it would be all those sweet titles that your BFF would write about you. And then if you had one piece of advice for anyone who's stuck, who is not stuck in quarantine per se, although it can be stuck in quarantine, um, who's stuck, what would be your best piece of advice to get them out of this mode of help me, help me, help me, I can't function, I can't do this, I can't function, I need help. What would be your piece of advice?
That's a great question, Win, and that ultimately is what I feel like I'm, you know, all about is it's ultimately start with the question of what is this situation teaching me? Because we can get into these habits of things, we've got our routines, we know what to expect, and then when life shifts and takes us off course, and all of a sudden we don't know what to do anymore because that wasn't how we lived or that wasn't how we operated, and it's basically a moment to teach us something new, whether about ourselves, about how to operate in the world. And so to me, that's the starting question. What is this teaching me? And then based on what you discover about yourself, what's one action thing that you can do differently as a result of that learning, as a result of what you learn about yourself? And so it might be a new way to flip your mindset about a situation or about another person. And when you start to put that into action and really integrate that new awareness, that new learning, then it starts to open a pathway of how to move forward. And I know for some people, they start to say, oh, well, that's like Pollyanna thinking or whatever. To me, that's empowered thinking, because we're not meant to go through life always being the same until one day we die. We're meant to have curveballs and things change and people come and go. And we have good times and we have some not so good times, but it doesn't mean the not so good times are we've failed or we've done something wrong or we're a bad person. It doesn't mean any of those things. Simply means, okay, it's time to shift something, or life is trying to teach us something, give us something new. And the really cool part is, as we navigate our way through those stuck moments, doing something new, thinking something new, not only do we find our way out of it, but we feel stronger. We realize, oh, wow, is I actually able to get through that? So it's not so much about waiting it out, but it's about what can you do to shift your way out of it. One of the phrases I love is the only way out is through. It's not over, it's not under, it's not around,
Yeah.
it's
No.
through it. And so those are my words of advice.
And as of today, you guys, I just figured something out in my life. It only took me a year to figure this out. And as of today, I just figured out something that it's going to send me in a good direction. It's actually going to send me in a healthier direction than I was in in 2019. For those of you who have been listening to me for quite a long time, you know that Asquin will be 10 years old.
Wow.
My goodness, 10 years old. October, I started this podcast 10 years ago, October. My mother died on August 12th. Well, by the time as she was dying, I was in the middle of writing a book in my head. Well, since then, that book has been published. You guys know it. I come a win. Self plug, but that's okay. But
Congratulations,
and
Win, on your book
well,
and your podcast.
well, thank you. And that was written over 10, it will be 10 years now. And because I did it right after my mom died. And then I lost my dad in 2019. And I don't know if you guys remember me sneaking away to do a podcast on the day he died. And I said, and I remember my girlfriend and I already had this podcast plan. And I said, well, this is next chapter of my life. sadly at 5 a.m. this morning, my dad passed away, and after being diagnosed and misdiagnosed with lung cancer. And so today, as of March 23rd, 20, as of July 23rd, 2020, I'm headed in the best direction that I can be. And things are starting to look up. So I will be standing by, as I said, all my educator friends. I will be standing by you, Kim. I will be standing by anyone and everyone that wants to meet with me privately, even though I have a bunch of projects going on. But that being said, Kara has a couple questions for me, so I'm gonna let Miss Kim take it away and let her interview me.
Well, thank you, Win, and thank you for your standing by and supporting. And likewise, I'm here to support you as well. So, yes, I'm excited to ask you questions. So, my first question for you, and I think we kind of know the answer to this, but it helps to ask it again because I know answers can change over time. What inspired you to host this podcast, and what do you love most about it?
Well, as I said, I wrote a book, I Come a Win, which is still up. It's still in print, and that's not going anywhere anytime soon. And so when I hit the publishing button back in October of 2011, um, I thought, oh, great, now the book is published. How in the world am I going to market the book? So at the time, I was listening to a podcast on book publishing, The Creative Pen, Penn, by Joanna Penn out of the UK. Joanna Penn is a full time author. She came out of the IT industry in London. And so she decided to take a stab at self publishing. Well, unbeknownst to her, her books took off. She's a big advocate for self publishing. And so at the time, I was getting unstuck with my book. And I thought, okay, here is my chance to do a podcast. Well, first of all, I tried YouTube. That didn't um that didn't work because I literally had a fan tell me, I can't I want to support you, but I can't keep my laptop open all day as I'm watching you. I can't do it on YouTube. So then I said, okay, there goes my YouTube stardom out the door. So then I took the Blu-ray stick, and then I went about my merry way and taught myself how to podcast. And I actually have a book sitting on my computer all about podcasting, ready to go. And hopefully, I will publish that within the next year or so. And yeah, so that's why I started this podcast. The book launched, the I Come a Win launched all this craziness I'm doing now.
That's awesome, Win. Okay, my next question for you is what do you wish more people understood about cerebral palsy?
What do I wish? Okay, number one, and you you guys know this is my big pet peeve of um all pet peeves, and I had a friend when she met me. that she actually did this and had to pay, had to pay the price and didn't want to tell my dad and I what she was doing. And she um she accidentally pulled into a handicapped parking spot.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and at the time she wasn't looking for me. And she says to my dad and I, "Could I take a couple hours to go do something?" And I'm like, "What did you do?" And she goes, "I pulled into a handicapped parking spot and, of course, got the fine." And I'm like, my dad and I just looked at her like, "Oh." And she looked at me like, "Okay, I know not to do that now." And so, yeah, and so it was so funny watching this person who happens to be a really good friend of mine now, um, learn learn the hard way, literally, not to fall into a handicapped parking spot, and she was still working with me after my dad died. And so every single time she um, pulls into a handicapped parking spot, she remembers that, and it's the running joke. Don't pull into a handicapped parking spot because you never know who's going in. You never know who's going to need it. And
Yeah.
so, please, you guys, please, it, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when when I'm out with people. Now, granted, I haven't been out since out since March. So, but when I'm out with people, I need the space more than because by the time we unload the walker, unload everything, it's like it takes, extra 20 minutes or something, although I'm pretty efficient at it now. But don't pull into a handicapped parking spot. I can tell you, I know it's tempting, but coming from my experience of, um, being a caregiver for a handicapped man for 9 days and due to lung cancer, and then also having my own physical disability. Yeah, a handicapped spot is a handicapped spot. So, and the other thing I want people to understand is that a lot of the people, and I just learned this year. I just learned this in 2020. A lot of people have communication apprehension, which basically means you're terrified to speak. And a lot of people equate that to public speaking. And so you guys need, well, you don't need to go at the turtle pace here, but you guys need to slow down and let the handicapped person you're speaking to take a moment to figure out what you're saying because 9 times out of 10, if they have a speech impediment or they are non-verbal, they are communicating through a assistive device, and it takes a couple minutes to get that assistive device up and rolling, assistive technology up and rolling. So you, as the individual, need to take a couple minutes to let them process what's going on. And people know this. When they give me news, let me process it for 24 hours, and then I'm perfectly fine. Whether it's good news, bad news, okay news, just let me give um, me personally 24 hours to process okay news or bad news or happy news, and then I'm perfectly fine. But when you expect me, when you give me news and then leave me alone with that news, I'll come back in 24 hours to say, let's do this. Um, or I'll come back in 24 hours mad as heck because um, you are not, resp- I am not responding to you. So you just have to be careful as to what I as to what you want me to process. Kim, does that make sense?
Just came back in. I'm glad it let me come back in.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
as I said, Kim, you just people just have to give me time to process things enough
yeah,
so that I can process things.
I you know what? I completely understand that. I used to work with a girl who had congenital muscular dystrophy, and it affected the part of her brain that controlled her speech. And I completely understand that. So I think that's an excellent point that you made. That one plus the one about the parking space, the handicap parking space. Those are really good points.
Yeah, no, no. And so, yeah, just you don't have to go at the total's pace here, people, but just be aware that when you interact with the disabled, just be aware that their brain is not only trying to process their own disability and how to react in an appropriate way, but their brain is also trying to react to what the other individual said.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. That was great, Win. I wanted to ask you too. Do you feel like there are enough handicap parking spaces?
Never, 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 never.
Oh,
That's always a trick and a half. Never.
wow.
And because so many people, and I'm getting like my dad in a sense, so many people use them as 2-minute um, parking spaces,
Mm,
and then when I show up, they're like, "I was only here for 2 minutes," and without a handicap placard in Colorado, you will get a fine. In most places, you will get a fine. In fact, I sometimes travel out of state with mine, my handicap parking placard, just so people know that yes, I have a disability.
that's good.
Don't don't pull into my spot, please, and don't use it as a 2-minute parking spot. Use this spot over as a 2-minute parking spot, but don't use the handicap parking spot because I don't know if you guys have seen on handicapped accessible bands. I looked because I have another friend who has a handicapped accessible van, and when I was getting in a handicapped accessible van, they now have signs on these vans that says, "Don't park right next to the vehicle." And I asked, my friend's aide, "Does that sign really work?" And she goes, "No, sometimes it works, other times it doesn't."
Wow. Wow. Well, okay, when are you, I have 2 more questions for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Go.
So, what's a question that you wish someone would ask you but they never have?
What's the question that geez, Kim, you stumped me. What's a you stumped me. What's a what's a question I, um I wish they would ask me, "Why are you so passionate about giving voice to the voiceless?" They know I'm going back to journalism school. They know that I'm working my tail off in journalism school, but no one has ever asked me, "Why are you so passionate about this?"
Okay, well, why are you so passionate about this? You already said
I
it though,
knew
right?
where this was going. I am passionate about this. I'll bang the drum all day long. I mean, special ed, especially now, special ed is getting thrown into garbage can. I hope I hope that you guys, all the teachers out there who are going back to in-person learning and in per and distance learning, I hope that I am able to teach you how to have more respect for those individuals with special needs. Because since March, the special ed population and the disabled population have got the fuzzy end of the lollipop, and it's driving me nuts because um, they can't. Some of them can't speak for themselves. Some of them choose to live on their own, which is a little scary. Some of them don't have the supports put in place that they could, and some of them just don't know there is supports out there. And so please, to everyone who listens to this, please go hug, try to hug a special ed person right now because they're getting the fuzzy end of a lollipop, and I will always, to the day I die, I will always champion not only cerebral palsy, but the deaf community, the blind community, the fibromyalgia community. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I will always stand up for those who are in the trenches of special ed.
That's awesome when they're lucky to have you in their corner. That's for sure.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, okay, now we have come to my last question, which you alluded to at the beginning of your show here. And
Oh, yes.
and so that is drum roll. That is what is your vision for the second half of 2020?
To knock out this journalism degree so I can get out get my head out of a textbook, and, I am slowly but surely knocking it out, and, I know you guys have been very, very patient with me on that one, and my, next goal with this podcast in 2020 is to make it to over 2,000 episodes because if we can do that as a community of Ask Win, oh my goodness, we will be empowering more of the not only special ed, but more of the next generation of entrepreneurs, the next generation of people that want to get out of the day job, the next generation. Right now, I know that people are trying to put one foot in front of the other. And so, if I can help with that, my job is done. My job is done because I remember the day I now mind you, this was at 6 a.m. Um, in a blizzard. Thank you very much. Don't
Oh.
don't ask what I was doing traveling back from Florida in October in a blizzard, and I I'm like, what am I doing? How's this gonna play out? Anyway, I was, with help, I was fortunate enough to go to Florida in October, and so we had the, most chattiest Uber driver at 6 a.m., mind you, and the person who I was traveling with goes, "Ay, ay, 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 ay." And so we started chatting up the Uber driver, and the funny thing was and she the person who I was with knew that I was going to do this, all along. She didn't know that I was gonna lose my job due to the pandemic, but and she said, "Well, when" and I was obliviously tired at this point. I get so tired easily, you guys, because of cerebral palsy. When is a professional motivational speaker? And when I heard those words come out of her mouth, I'm like, okay, you just solidified what I'm supposed to do until the day I can't do it anymore. And I'm like, this is a little strange at 6 a.m. being being saying that I'm a professional motivational speaker for the disabled. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that. I'll put that where it needs to be put. But this is why I stepped out of education so I could focus on journalism and being a motivational speaker. So back to your question, Kim, if we can make it to over 2,000 episodes, that would be great.
That would be amazing, Win.
That would if yeah, if we can, we
Uh,
can,
it's
and
to
we'll see.
I believe it. I think it's totally possible. So that's exciting. I'm happy for
Yeah,
you.
we'll see. And so, Kim, where can people find you other than Facebook?
Yeah, so in addition to Facebook, they can go to my website, kimoneillcoaching.com. And O'Neill is Oneill. So it's kimoneillcoaching.com, and they can find all the links there. And I look forward to saying hey to them.
Yeah, yeah. And so, Kim, what would be a closing piece of advice for this interview?
You know, when I think that everything is possible. And so I would say to not only look at what is, whatever you're seeing currently in the world around you, you want to see it and accept it, but then remember that you always have the power. And so what do you want to create next? What do you want to see in addition to whatever the stuff is that you're seeing that you may not like? And what do you want to do to create that, to experience that, to share more of your gifts, your message, your talents with the world in whatever way that resonates most for the individuals? Just remember that regardless of what's going on around you, you still have power. And
Yeah,
that's what creating 2020 vision is all about. And that's what you, I'm seeing, are about too, when you are
yeah,
just doing such inspiring things.
yeah. Even though I'm working, um I want to get to the point where I can make an income off my podcast. I want to put multi even though I love multi-level marketing is a little bit of hard work. And not to say that I'm not into hard work. I just want to do motivational speaking more as a full-time job and multi-level marketing to the side of the motivational speaking. So if you guys can help me with that, that would be great. And I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode of Ask Win. Thanks to you guys. Bye, you guys.